The blade was bent, its edge dull and uneven, yet it gleamed like a cruel joke under the sun. When the instructor tossed it at her feet, the others chuckled, convinced she'd fail before she even began. She looked down at the warped steel, then at the rugged faces around her, and for a heartbeat, doubt whispered in her chest. This wasn't just a tool, it was a test and a warning. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. She crouched, fingers brushing the dirt as she picked up the knife. The weight felt wrong. The handle wobbled. The balance was off. Around her, the survival course stretched like a battlefield disguised as wilderness, swamps, jagged ridges, thorn-choked trails. Every recruit had been given a weapon fit for the fight. Except her, and she knew why. Whispers rippled through the group. She won't last an hour. That's cruel. They want her broken. The words stung, but she straightened her shoulders, holding the bent knife firmly as if it were a sword of honor. Failure would mean proving them right. Success would demand more than strength. It would demand heart. The first trial came with the river, a current strong enough to drag a man under surged past sharp rocks. Others cut vines with clean blades, building rafts swiftly. She hacked at the branches, her bent knife slipping, tearing skin from her palm. Blood trickled, hot and sticky, but she pressed on, lashing driftwood together with trembling hands. When she finally crossed, soaked to the bone, the group had already moved ahead, but the instructor, watching from the bank, narrowed his eyes. Hunger gnawed by the second day. They were expected to hunt and build fire. She stalked the underbrush, the bent blade catching the light, scaring off prey. Frustration burned her chest. But then, instead of fighting the knife, she adapted. Using the curve, she trapped a rabbit against a hollow log, a trick no straight blade could manage. That night, as smoke rose from her fire, silence fell across the camp. The laughter had stopped. She grew weaker with each challenge, yet her resolve grew sharper. When the cliffs came, jagged and cruel against the sky, most doubted she could climb. Her knife, blunted and bent, couldn't dig into the stone like the others. So she used it as a lever, pressing it into cracks, pushing herself upward with raw determination. Each inch scraped her skin, each breath a war. But when her hand finally gripped the summit, the others froze. She had climbed faster than them all, and yet the hardest trial wasn't physical. On the final day, one of the men slipped, his ankle twisting as he fell into a ravine. The rules were clear. No one was required to help. Every second mattered in finishing first. She looked at the path ahead, freedom, victory, validation. But then she looked back at him, writhing in pain, eyes pleading. Her chest tightened. The bent knife weighed heavy in her hand, no longer a weapon, but a question. What kind of soldier would she be if she left him behind? She chose. With sweat and fire in her eyes, she hauled him onto her back, the bent knife clenched between her teeth as she clawed up the slope. Step after step, mile after mile, her legs burned like they might shatter. The others watched in silence as she carried him across the finish line, not first, not fastest, but unbroken. When the instructor stepped forward, the air was so still even the leaves seemed to hold their breath. He bent down, lifted the battered knife from her hand, and for the first time he smiled. This, he said, voice rough with something like respect, was never about the blade, it was about you. Because courage doesn't depend on perfect tools, it depends on the heart that wields them. And just like that first moment, when the bent knife clattered at her feet, her story had come full circle. Only this time, no one dared laugh. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more. Stories like these remind us of a truth too often forgotten. The weakest tool in the strongest hands can change everything.